Hello, everyone. I thought it might be good to do another episode of Gear Talk where we talk just a little bit about chin rests and shoulder rests. And I have just a few with me. Be handy if I was in a violin shop like I used to. I used to work in violin shops for 11 years, and I spent a lot of time sizing and helping people feel comfortable with their chin rest and their shoulder rest. Unfortunately, I don't have 100 different chin rests and shoulder rests in front of me, but I still think we can talk about this a little bit. I'm a big fan of finding that just the right combination of chin rest and shoulder rest so you're comfortable. Without a shoulder rest, this thing kind of just slides around. It's a little hard to hold, and a lot of neck strain can happen. So I'm a big fan of the shoulder rest. It also gives me a little more ability to reach for notes. And since I have small hands, that really helps me out. If I put a shoulder rest on, I don't have to support the instrument with my arm. And I'm looking to find that fit where if my head is completely upright, I can just bring the fiddle to me and it basically fits. And it seems really hard for most of us to find that combination where we're not leaned over and straining on the fiddle, or we've got it way too far here, or we're holding it too far back. You want to find that spot just on a little bit of an angle where it's comfortable, and this should almost be called a jaw rest rather than a chin rest. You don't hold it like this. I've seen a lot of beginner fiddlers do that because they want to look down the neck, but really it's sitting just in your jaw, and you want it to have a shoulder rest that has enough height that you can bring it to match your neck length and not feel like you're, reaching into the fiddle or having it too high or too low. So I'm using right now a Tekka chin rest. And this is a very inexpensive rest. It comes from Germany, and I really like it. It's left centric and it goes over the tailpiece just a little bit. And they're about $12 online. It's plastic. There are some ebony or rosewood versions of this that come from India, but I find the shape isn't quite as good as the classic German Tekka, T-E-K-A. So that is a really great chin rest. It's also the one that I found when I worked in the violin shops for over a decade. That was the perfect match for most people with a longer neck. And it works really well with the Wolf shoulder rest. This is the Forte Secundo. And no, I don't get any bonuses for telling you about these products or anything like that. And this is an adjustable shoulder rest. Inside the baggie are two little black pieces that I'm going to tell you about in a second. It's adjustable with its height, and also has this piece with a screw here that you can adjust. You have to get a little screwdriver to loosen this off, but then you can adjust that little screw and get it to just the right length. Sometimes you have to push a little bit to get this to go in and out, but it will. So if you have a longer neck, this can really be a great rest for you. That's what it looks like in the fiddle. I've just slid it on in the middle bouts. And it's already got a fair amount of height. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that these little black plastic things that come in the bag, there's a long one and a short one, are actually extenders. And here's how you use those. I find that most people that are really uncomfortable or complaining about their shoulder rest, chin rest combination often have a longer neck. Seems you go to the violin shop and they have all these chin rests for people with no necks. Like they have a lot of the Dresdens, which are pretty flat. And I think they sell out of the popular Tekkas. Or I also like this one called an SAS. It's a very comfortable rest. It only has one post, but it comes in a few different sizes. And that one also is left centric, goes over the tailpiece a little bit, and that's a very comfortable rest as well. One I don't have here is the Whitner. A lot of people like that one. And all of those are good if you need a little more height or you have a slightly longer neck. Okay, back to putting on extenders on the Forte Secondo rest, which is a very comfortable rest. This is also one of the only shoulder rests that doesn't fall off your fiddle. So if you're looking for that, it's great. It has a big screw, and inside that big screw, if you turn the feet, there is a skinny screw that comes out of that. So I'm just going to take this off for a second. And if I was trying to make this really tall, because I really needed some height, if I had a longer, graceful neck, I kind of have a medium neck, then I would take this inner screw out, almost there. Bear with me. Okay, great. So a big screw, little screw inside it, and you get this plastic piece. You have a choice of the longer one or the shorter one, and then you screw that back in, and that stabilizes the legs so they can be quite high and they're not rickety. So that's a way that you can extend and get some real height on this particular rest if you need it. Now remember, you won't need as much under your neck as you will on your chest. You'll need a little more height on your chest, and you just need to experiment with bringing the legs in and out a little bit to get that perfect height. So that Forte Secondo with the Tekka was the combination that worked for most people who have a longer neck. Now my neck is not so long, so shoulder rests that have worked well for me include the Coon, which comes from Canada. Right now I'm using the Everest, and that's the Everest. Very inexpensive rest. It does fall off sometimes, but it's very comfortable. It's got a lot of foam, which I like. A little more foam than the Coon. So that's the combination I've been using right now. Though sometimes, like I mentioned before, I have been using this SAS rest, which is quite nice as well. Other mid, these are all adjustable, but they don't go quite as high as the Wolf rest. This is a Viva La Musica rest, quite attractive. But it doesn't go as high. You can see that there's no way that it's going to extend as high as that Forte Secondo. Now, people that have problems with the shoulder rest slipping all the time, like some people find that they need it to grip more. And there's a rest, I don't have it here, but there's a shoulder rest called a Buon Musica, and it has kind of this hook, actually hooks around your shoulder. You can bend it a little bit. And some people like those. They're a little heavy for me, but they're just the right thing for some people. So you might check that out if you have a lot of problems with the fiddle slipping down. Some people have high shoulders and they're just not going to get the fiddle up to this spot. That's okay. Everybody's anatomy is a little different. I've also seen fiddlers use, have a little, almost like a saxophone strap, that hooks onto here. And some people like to play with their fiddle down a little bit lower, and that holds it. Melvin Wine, the old fiddler I used to visit in West Virginia, he always played with the fiddle on his chest. He kind of tucked in his shirt a little bit. But I need that extra height to be able to reach all the notes myself. So those are some handy pointers, I think. Another chin rest I really like is the Donaldson. This is kind of a nice chin rest as well. If you haven't taken the time to try a bunch of different chin rests, it's so worth it. I think I played 10 years on the most uncomfortable chin rest because I just never really thought about it, and I didn't know any better, and it had a big uncomfortable hump in it, and it was plastic, so you couldn't change it, and I had to get my fiddle fixed. I played on that chin rest for about 10 years, and I borrowed another violin while I was getting mine fixed, and when I got my old one back, I couldn't believe how uncomfortable it was. And then I started my search for a more comfortable chin rest. And in the years I worked at the shop, every time I saw somebody come in with that plastic chin rest with a really big hump on it, I would say, have you ever tried any different chin rests? And they would always say no. And then we would try a bunch, and inevitably they got rid of the old one. I never met anybody who found that chin rest comfortable. When I got the Donaldson that I've used, I took a sanding pad to it. I just took off a little bit of that ridge. This is a brand new one, so I haven't done it yet, but I've found this to be quite a comfortable chin rest. And, if it's an ebony rest or any other type of wood rest, you can sandpaper it into just the right shape. So don't feel too shy. It's your comfort we're talking about here. Also really good for kids to be set up really well. And they make little tiny chin rests and shoulder rests for kids. Here's a mini shoulder rest. So you see they exist, and they're growing into their instruments. So it's really important to have a good fit for them. Most of us have this style, a Guarneri style chin rest on our instruments. They put a lot of these on the Guarneri and the Strads, and they're on almost every instrument, but I don't find that they're the most comfortable. I find that a lot of people end up putting their chin on that little bit here, and this is sticking out really far. And there was even a musician wellness magazine I read once where they measured the amount of pressure, somehow with electrodes, measured the amount of pressure that we exert to hold the different chin rests, our chin on them. And this one, people were exerting the most pressure. The important thing is you want to try it and be open-minded and find out what suits you. And it's a combination between the shoulder rest and the chin rest. So you want to try a lot of different things and make sure the shop has what you need. Okay, what fits one person might not fit another, but I have found that sometimes the shops run out of the popular rests, or they're in the back somewhere. I once went to California to help a friend who had a long neck, and we went to the shop and they only had really low rests. And, I was like, where are the taller chin rests? You don't seem to have any. And they finally went around in the back of the store and pulled out a Tekka. And she said I was like having a good lawyer with her, which was pretty funny. So don't underestimate your comfort, and mess around with having different chin rests and shoulder rests until you find one that you like. There's a lot of variety out there. And there's even chin rest pads. This is a Strad pad, and they come with elastic, and some of them have Velcro. I think the Velcro ones are better. This is the regular size. The regular one is plenty big to fit any chin rest I've seen. And these are very comfy. So if you want extra soft chin rest, you might consider this. They're a little pricey. They also help those people that are allergic to the nickel that's on a lot of these chin rests. So if you have an allergy, these can help. Other people use a piece of chamois sometimes. So that's just a few little points that I hope will help you get a little more comfortable on your fiddle. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me at erynnmarshall@gmail.com. Happy playing!